Hey there, is your Ford's check engine light giving you a headache? And when you pull the codes, are you seeing P0113? Well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to break down exactly what your car is trying to tell you, what's really going on under the hood, and how you can get it sorted out. Let's dive in.
So there it is, that annoying little check engine light just glaring at you from the dashboard. You do the right thing, you grab your scan tool, you plug it in, and it spits out that code P0113. If this sounds like you, stick around, because we're about to get you some clear, no-nonsense answers.
All right, first things first. What in the world is this code actually trying to say? Let's translate this thing from computer speak into plain English. Okay, so on your scanner, you're gonna see this mouthful. Intake, air, temperature sensor, 1 circuit high input. Whoa. Look, don't let all the technical words throw you off. The only parts you really need to key in on are intake air temperature and high input. So what does that mean? Put simply, your car's main computer thinks it's driving through an Arctic blizzard. It's getting a signal that says the air coming into the engine is unbelievably cold. Now you might be wondering, why does high input mean cold? Well, it's because this sensor works on resistance. As the temperature drops, its electrical resistance goes way, way up. The computer sees that high resistance as a high voltage signal, and it translates that to freezing cold. A P0113 code means that voltage is totally off the charts, basically screaming that it's negative 40 degrees outside, even if you're in the middle of a summer heat wave.
To really get why this matters, we need to talk about the little gadget at the center of all this. You can think of it as your engine's own personal weather forecaster.
This is the intake air temperature sensor, or IAT for short, and it does exactly what its name says it does. It's basically a small thermometer that tells the engine's computer how hot or cold the air is that's being pulled in for combustion. And believe it or not, that one little piece of information is absolutely critical. So why does the computer care so much about the temperature? It all comes down to air density. You see, cold air is dense. It's packed with more oxygen molecules. Hot air is thinner, with less oxygen. Your car's computer is smart. It knows this. So when it thinks the air is cold and dense, it injects more fuel to create that perfect air-fuel mixture for a clean burn. But when it gets a false signal saying it's freezing, it starts dumping in way too much fuel, and that throws the whole system out of whack. Now, before you run out to the car to go looking for this thing, you should know it can be a little tricky to find. Sometimes it's its own separate sensor plugged into the intake tubing. But a lot of the time, Ford integrates it right into the mass airflow sensor or even the MAP sensor. The absolute best way to find it is to look up a diagram for your specific year and model. That'll save you a ton of time. Okay, so we know what the sensor does and why it's so important. Now let's put on our detective hats and figure out what symptoms this code causes and what's usually to blame. Of course, the check engine light is the big one, but you're probably feeling other problems too. Your engine might be hard to start, especially when it's cold. It might idle really rough, or just feel sluggish and down on power when you're driving. And since the computer is dumping in all that extra fuel, you're definitely going to see your gas mileage take a nosedive. You might even see a puff of black smoke from the exhaust. That's all the unburnt fuel. So what's actually broken? Well, the most common culprits are pretty simple. It could just be a bad AIT sensor. That's a definite possibility. But it could also be a problem with the wiring, a broken wire, a corroded connector, maybe a bent pin. And in really, really rare cases, it could be the engine computer itself. But please always check the simple stuff, like the wiring and the sensor first.
All right, we know the what and we know the why. Now it's time for the how. Let's go through a step-by-step game plan for diagnosing and actually fixing this P0113 code for good.
First step, and it's the easiest, just use your eyes. Do a good visual inspection of the sensor's wiring and its connector. Look for anything that's obviously broken, frayed, or corroded. If it all looks good, grab that scan tool again and look at the live data stream for the IAT sensor. Is it stuck on a crazy low number, like -40? That's your confirmation. From there, you can break out a multimeter to test the circuit and the sensor itself to find out exactly where the failure is before you start buying parts. Now, listen up, because this is a pro tip that could save you a lot of frustration and money. Never forget this. A problem with the wiring will look exactly the same as a bad sensor to the car's computer. Why is that? Well, think about it. A broken wire creates an open circuit, right? That means infinite resistance. And what does the computer see when it gets a signal with super high, basically infinite resistance? It thinks it's looking at a sensor in Arctic temperatures. So please test the circuit before you just throw a new sensor at it. Okay, so you found the problem. Maybe it was a broken wire you fixed, or maybe you did have to replace the sensor. Great, but you're not quite done. The last step is super important. Use your scan tool to clear the trouble code from the computer's memory. Then take the car for a nice long test drive to make absolutely sure everything is running right and that pesky light stays off.
And there you have it, the Ford P0113 code completely demystified. You know what it means, you know the likely causes, and you've got a solid plan to track down the problem. That check engine light isn't some big mystery anymore. It's just a puzzle you now have the tools to solve. So what's your first move going to be?